Well, welcome back. Welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. Today, I tell you, today I'm really excited today. I kind of started this interview before I even did the interview and talking to this gentleman today here. He's truly a drummer's drummer. His credits include Chick Corea, Cassandra Wilson, one of my favorite, Kenny Garrett, Steve Coleman, and so many more, which we're going to talk about. He's a Grammy Award winner. His grandfather is the icon, the legend, Roy Haynes, the drummer. You help me welcome my guest today, extraordinary drummer that he is, Marcus Gilmore. Hey, Marcus.
Hey, brother Cheron, how you feeling?
I'm well, thank you, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling pretty good, actually.
Now, you're from Queens, New York, is that right?
Yes, sir. I am from Queens, Hollis, Queens.
Let me, before I take you back and do some of your great history, I want to talk a little bit about your credits. What's it like working with Cassandra Wilson? She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's incredible. I didn't work with her too much, but you know, the little bit that I did work with her was I learned a lot in that short amount of time. And yeah, she's incredible. She's incredible. Unique person, very unique voice. Yeah, I learned a lot.
Tell me about working with Steve Coleman.
And I learned a great deal from Steve. He's you know, he's like a walking encyclopedia. So you know, he's a true information conceptual kind of guy. So I've learned so much. You know, I met him when I was 15. That was the first gigs I did with him were in 2002. And I met him through my uncle, Graham Haynes, who was a collaborator of his dating back to the early 80s. So yeah, it's been you know, it's been really great to have access to a person like Steve in my life. I've learned a lot.
This one here, Kenny Garrett. How'd you get that gig? And I'm sure that gave you a lot of room to play. He's got Having God and bombs and everything going at the same time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I play with. I never really had the chance to do the gig full time. It was just little things here and there, and then we actually played together a bit with Chick Corea too. But the great thing about Kenny is he, I mean, aside from being a phenomenal musician, is he's really into the rhythm and into the drums. So drummers are always gonna love Kenny the way I see it. I mean,
let me take you all the way back. Take you all the way back.
Okay, all right.
I read somewhere that you actually started playing drums at age 3, but it took you no, let me second this right. It took you 3 years to convince your parents to get you a drum kit. How did that work out?
Well, so I started. My mother got me a set of bongos when I was 4 for Christmas, and she just wanted me to have a creative outlet to express myself. But deep down, she always knew that I was going to be a drummer. And spiritually, she had like you know, she's very intuitive, and you know, she gave birth to me, so she always has that kind of connection. You know, she just kind of knows certain. You know, your mom just knows certain things. She always kind of knew I was going to be a drummer, but things still had to play out. You know, and thank God that I had examples of you know, very good musicians, very great musicians, and then iconic, legendary musicians like my grandfather to see. Thank God I had those examples to see that it was actually possible, you know?
What did that feel like, Roy Haynes giving you your first drum kit?
I mean, you know, it's grandpa. You know, for me it's grandpa.
Yeah.
Yes, he's Roy Haynes too. Don't get it twisted. He is Roy Haynes too, but he's grandpa first. So
take me through high school, LaGuardia High School. What was the drum scene like for you then?
LaGuardia. Yeah, LaGuardia was a very positive creative environment for me. It was great because once I got in there, you know, I was fortunate, you know, to get into like the good, you know, senior jazz band you know, more or less right after I got in there. But even more so, that was great about it was that I somehow, you know, pretty soon after I got in there, I was basically like playing a lot of different types of groups. You know, I was playing in the gospel choir, which is a very good choir, actually. The director was serious and he really just called like some of the best musicians in the New York area, gospel musicians, to play the gigs. Some of them that I had known from church, actually, that would come and play. But once he saw me, he was like, you know, he knew that I was like a cat, and he knew I was playing in a jazz band. But he walked up to me, and was like, "Yo, you play gospel too?" And I was like, "Yeah, I grew up in the church." He was like, "All right, man, you come to gospel choirs." And then, you know, I got a chance to work with a lot of the vocalists that were writing music. They had a group called New Music Singers, so that was a really great experience to work with these different musicians who were, you know, writing their own compositions. That was basically the concept with that ensemble, was just like everybody's writing their own compositions, or at the very least their own arrangements of compositions. So that was a great experience. And then of course I did all of the European classical. It was a very well-rounded playing experience.
Before I get you over to your colleges, Juilliard and Manhattan School of Music, were you doing any Parliament, Funkadelic, anybody else in there?
I was definitely studying Dennis. So I was exposed to a lot of different experiences. Yeah, so I you know, that was my thing. I just love music so much, and I love the drums so much. And the drums are such an integral part of all these different types of music, that in order to be a proficient drummer, I felt like I had to just really put in the time with all these different types of music, you know?
Let me take you to the colleges, Juilliard and Manhattan School of Music. What was happening in those colleges?
So I actually never went for college to Juilliard. I just, you know, auditioned and I got in, but I knew that wasn't for me. So I went to Manhattan School of Music, but even then I only stayed for 1 year because that wasn't for me either. But I'm glad I had that year of experience to see what was really going on. But I started touring, you know, a little heavier while I started that first year at Manhattan School, mostly with Nicholas Payton at that time. Yeah, and then, you know, from there I started going on the road with Chick, and then a lot of other things started happening. So
I read where you started touring at 16 years old.
Professionally,
Professionally, yeah.
Professionally at 15, actually. Clark Terry was the first one to take me out to Europe. Yeah.
Listen to what you just said.
Oh, yeah.
15 years old. Wow. Clark Terry. Wow.
Yeah. That's a big honor for me. He's one of my mentors, you know. I have a lot of love for CT. Yeah, I'll never forget the things that I learned just being around him, and I'll always cherish those experiences. So, yeah.
Before I get to your solo project, tell me about working with Chick Corea.
You know, I don't know what to say. I mean, you know, there's so much. You know, I had the great honor of working with him in many different projects and ensembles. My very first tour with him was actually right after I left Manhattan School of Music, and it was in 2006. With an orchestra, the chamber group. It was his second piano concerto that he wrote, and he was going to bring it on the road. And so we went out. You know, I learned a lot about composition from him. You know, I learned a lot about myself just being out that long on the road. I'd never been out that long before on the road, and so that was I learned all kind of lessons just being away for that long, and just, you know, being out there like that and traveling day to day for like 7 weeks. You know, that was new to me. You know, I was 19 when I first went out with him. So, but over the years, you know, he's you know, I met him when I was a kid. I was about 8 or 9 when I first met him. And he's always been such a supportive and inspiring person. Before the music, just a supportive and inspiring human being. You know what I mean?
You won a Grammy with him?
Yes, last year. That's the last time I actually saw him physically in person. Was last year in January.
Tell me about your solo project, Action Speaks. And I said I wasn't going to try to say this word, but I would take a shot at it.
Let me hear you. Let me hear what you got to say.
I'm going to blow it. I know I'm going to blow it. I'm going to blow it. The hell. Silhouette. Silhouette. How bad can I do?
Silhouette. Silhouette.
Silhouette.
It's actually it's a compound word that I put together. I just wanted it to be like a compound of like shadows and currents, just like. Then I thought, well, maybe like silhouette and waves. So silhouette.
Silhouette.
Yeah, silhouette.
It don't look like that. I tell you.
The reason the H looks kind of funny, right? The only reason why H is in there is because the silhouette has an H. So I really just stopped it there and then just put like wave, but I didn't add the E. So it looks kind of fun. It looks like a wave file or something, WAV. Yeah.
It's actually a cool word though. I really like it. I like it a lot. I like how you put them together. Tell me about the projects. Are those two separate albums or two separate projects, Action Speak and Silhouette?
Well, really what it is that when my album comes out, it's kind of like almost every track is not a different band, but like, different concepts. And so there's stuff on there that might fall under that Silhouette umbrella, but there are other things on there that kind of fall under the Action Speaks. And then there's some solo stuff, and then there's other things too. So it's really just a combination. Really, the concept was I just wanted to have my debut album kind of encompassing all the different types of things that I like to do, and then I can branch off and do like an album based off the concept of one of those compositions, like a full album like that, and a full album like another one, and full album like another one. So,
when do you think it's coming out?
I don't know. Hopefully later this year. Hopefully, I've been working on it for a few years, but I'm happy with the way things are right now, and I think it should be out later this year.
Tell me about the Protégé, the 2018 Rolex Mentor and the Protégé project.
Oh yeah. So that was Rolex, the Rolex Arts Initiative. They have, well, the Rolex Corporation has this arts initiative that actually has a program called the Rolex Mentor Protégé program. And it just so happens that when they announced, they had a big celebration when they announced the current protege and mentors. Everybody was in the celebration in Germany, except for Zakira and myself. We were in India, but it was perfect because we weren't there, but we were together. And so it kind of was like, it almost seemed like the universe was just like, okay, you two need to get together. And, and we did. so that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. And he's been a friend and mentor for a couple of years now. And right now we're on tour. So it's been a really beautiful journey.
I can hear it, man. Did Rolex give you one of them expensive watches or what?
That's the first thing everybody asks. Well, they said they were not going to, but we end up getting a nice little thing. At the very end, we did end up getting something. So
congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thank.
I don't think Rolex make any nice little things.
No, they don't make anything that's nice and little. That's for sure. They're always special, very special. So.
I couldn't let you go without asking this question. What's with the scarves?
Wait, hold on now. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it be cold. It will be cold outside, you gotta protect yourself, protect your neck. I mean, I definitely had a scarf in that Zildjian Live video, right?
Yeah. I thought it was trademark or something, image or something.
Yeah, it might be turned into a trademark. I think it might be. Every night I've been playing with these lovely folks with Zakir, and they always have scarves when they perform.
Tell me about I love this about you. This is just it's art, finesse and imagination, man.
Yeah, I guess I would. Yeah, I guess maybe some people would think of me as like a maybe more of a finesse player. I'm into that. And imagination for me is everything. So I have never had a shortage of ideas. For me, it's been more so just about ways to articulate them and just kind of put them in order so I can make sense of it all. But I'm an idea guy for sure. So I'm into exploring the imagination. I'm really into that. That's a big thing for me.
I noticed you had percussions on your hi-hat. And also, what's the deal with the two hi-hats?
Why you have two of them? Yeah, I like having percussion on my hi-hat. Sometimes it adds a nice effect to the instrument. And in regards to having two hi-hats, well, you know, so I was first inspired by the idea of having two hi-hats played with the foot by listening to Milford Graves and some of those recordings, specifically recording Grand Unification, where he has all kind of stuff going on. He got like all kind of percussion and gongs and tam-tams. He got like drums in his head. I talked to him about that one time. I said, what was your setup like? He was like, man, I had drums everywhere. I had drums over here, I had drums over here, over here, over here. Like he was like, I was just sticks on my head. I was just going in. I was like, it sounds like it, because it definitely sounds like 5 different people. So I'm like, that makes sense. But one of the sensations that I was really attracted to was the sound of not just two hi-hats, but two hi-hats being played by the foot, which is not something that I would see. And so I started playing, two hi-hats in like 2010, 2011. But I wanted to find a way to make it, well, first of all, I wanted to kind of deal with it a little different. Like, so if you have two hi-hats that are the same size, you can kind of think of it as like a stereo thing, right? One on the right side, one on the left side. You play them both with feet. So it kind of adds this perception of having multiple drummers, but it's really just one. It's like just a real polyrhythmic type thing, But I wanted to make it so that I said, okay, having two hi-hats that are the same size is cool. Then I started doing in certain groups, I would do two hi-hats, one really big and one really small, to have like a bass hi-hat and like a regular hi-hat. Then I was like, but what if I have one that's really small but thicker, like Zilbels? I should use Zilbels as hi-hats. So I started doing that. And then I was like, if I put it on my left side, I can kind of keep it going and still play the bass drum. I wanted to be able to play the bass drum and the hi-hat at the same time. So I said, if I put it on my left side, I could do them both at the same time. And kind of keep it as like, sometimes I would use it for accents, but sometimes I would use it just for like a pulse. If I wanted to solo and free myself up, it's almost like having a percussionist that's kind of like keeping time. You can do that sometimes. So I would do that, and I would do, that pulse type thing with the really thick small ones, because they really cut, So I thought that was interesting. So I started doing that. And in that Zildjian Live video, I'm not so much keeping a pulse. I'm using it more for an accent, but it's like a repetitive thing. And it's like a part of the beat or whatever. So on the Zildjian Live, that was kind of where that was coming from. I didn't really use it so much as accent. Well, I think I kind of did on that extra song at the end, where I kind of accented it more, the little jam at the very end. But yeah, that was kind of where I was coming from with that.
Tell me about endorsements. What drums are you playing? What cymbals, so on and so forth.
All right, let's talk about the drum gear. Okay. Well, I'm playing Sonar drums. I play Remo drum heads. I like, right on my vintage series right now, I have Diplomats on most of the drums. Cymbals, Zildjian, mostly Ks. I have Sonar, mostly Sonar hardware. But for pedals, I like to play this Pearl Eliminator. It's my favorite for new pedals. Strap drive. Microphones, SE Electronics. When I'm home and recording in my house, in my studio, I'm playing SE Electronics microphones. I'm playing Vic Firth now. And I've been working on something with them that hopefully will be out by the time this video comes out.
Let me move you on. We have a thing on the show that we call word of advice, where I asked the drummers if they would leave a parting word of advice for the up-and-comer drummers, the guys that are trying to get traction in this business, even the guys at the next level. Would you leave them a word of advice?
Practice. And study and record yourself practicing. I would say, to me, that's been extremely beneficial, because if you know what you're going for and you record yourself so you know where you're at, you'll have a better idea of what you need to work on to get there.
As I get to the last question here, tell me about movies, soundtracks, all the other things in the business. Have you done those, or are you looking to do those?
Yeah, I'm looking to do them, and I've done some. Actually, I played drums on that Soul movie, the Disney Soul, the Pixar.
Yeah.
When it first starts out, not when it first starts out, but like early on in the film, there's like a drum solo, and there's actually a lot of drum stuff in throughout the movie with different drummers. I know Harvey Mason's is on the soundtrack, but the stuff that's supposed to be the drummer in that band, a lot of that is me, but some of that is my grandfather, and there's another drummer on there too, Joe Saylor. But yeah, there's like a drum solo in the beginning that's me for sure, and that was a really cool project to be a part of. My dear friend John Baptiste got us in there, myself and my grandfather in there, so that was very special. But I also, I did do one movie with my friend Christian Scott, my dear brother Christian Scott. We did a film. It must have been like 13, 14 years ago. This George Clooney film called Leatherheads. We actually like did like a little cameo thing. And then I feel like I've done a couple other things too, like TV show things here and there. I did some stuff with Esperanza for Luke Cage a few years ago. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it. If schedule permits, I'm down to do it. But the soundtrack thing, I'm into more than the TV show cameo thing, I guess. I hope to do more in the future.
As I'm talking to you and let you go here, the one thing I keep hearing in you, you're so humble, man. You're just so humble, man. I just hear that being humble, and I hear a spirituality in you. I hear it and see it in your playing. What is that? Where is that? Where is it rooted?
Thanks, man. I where is it rooted? I don't know. I definitely am a man of faith, and I don't know. I feel like, if you're really into the music, you'll always be, I feel like the music kind of grounds you and keeps you, it keeps you grounded. I feel like the music really, really can keep you grounded, I mean, if you truly surrender to the music itself, like it's infinite, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to have some level of grounding if you want to do anything or connect in any kind of way, any kind of real way. You just kind of have to surrender to the music and the gratitude and the vastness of it and how great it is. It's a really beautiful thing.
Question I usually ask the guys at the end of the show. Marcus, what would you want your legacy to be? And how would you like it played out?
I would love people to be their best selves, and to aspire to be their best selves, and whatever it is that they do. So if I can somehow, find a way to represent that within the music, that would be great. but I also think it's important to live your life a certain way, to represent that in your actions and how you live your life. So.
It's usually those quiet guys that are monsters on the kit, that they just are meant a few words and then they just sit on the drum kit and it's what a joy it's been meeting you. Thank you for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Truly everything that I thought it was going to be and more.
That's beautiful, man. Me too. Actually, yeah, this is pretty cool. And I know you called me earlier. I was on the phone and I was like, man, did I miss it? I was like, hold on. I was like, I know I have it on my calendar, but I forgot the timing of it. And I was like, wait, what time is it supposed to be again? And so I'm really happy everything went down the way it did. It's all good. It's all smooth. It's cool. This is like my first day off in a long time. So I'm like chilling pretty hard, actually. Trying to download some programs so I can get to some music and do some writing. But the Wi-Fi is kind of weak, so I might have to go downstairs and get the stronger signal and get it going. So that's probably what I'll do right now.
Will you help me wave goodbye to everyone?
Of course. To everyone who's watching. Peace.
Marcus, thank you again so much.
Thank you.